The following is a presentation of the Sovryn Tech podcast feed.
Woo! Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the best podcast host of them all? It is the Golden Stallion, the man of tomorrow, Savzu, the rated R radio star, Dr. Brian Sovryn, ready for a Sovryn short, and one that is actually very important. We've got some big changes happening throughout the month of December. A lot of releases coming throughout the month of December, and I will explain why, and I will explain the changes. A lot of them have actually happened under the hood, as it were, in the background, and you didn't even notice it. But if you're somehow worried that perhaps like other podcasts, that Sovryn Tech is going away, oh, no. We're just going to get hotter. So the biggest change, and we'll start off with that, the biggest change to happen is I have switched Sovryn Tech to a new hosting service. So no longer is Sovryn Tech coming out through and hosted by Podbean. Everything has switched over to Anchor. Now, there may be some questions about this. And if you were in the Sovryn Tech Telegram group, I announced all of this some days ago, that this was happening. And if you were paying really close attention to the feed, you would have noticed in your podcast app that there's like a new URL for the podcast feed. And it would be anchor.fm/Sovryn, of course, Sovryn. Now, you'd have to have looked for it to notice it, but you haven't missed any episodes. Again, I worked with Anchor on this. They were happy to have a show of Sovryn Tech scale, come on board. And everything transferred more or less seamlessly into Anchor, and, there's a redirect and all that. And so that's why you haven't noticed any change. Unless you were really looking, you would have seen the change. But there's nothing on your end that you need to do. You go ahead and you keep subscribed to Sovryn Tech, whatever way, and you are fine. Whatever, URL or XML, well, the feed the podcast feed that you're choosing, you just keep rocking that and you're good. And this is true if you're, using Apple Podcasts, if you, via iTunes, however you're getting it, Stitcher, even, Pocket Casts, all that. There's nothing has changed, and there's nothing you need to do, to make sure that you keep getting Sovryn Tech. I've handled that. You're going to keep getting it. Don't you worry. Now, some of you may be saying, hey, wait a minute. The man of tomorrow, if there's one thing I know about the man of tomorrow, it's that he really doesn't like Spotify. And you're right. I don't. And the folks at Anchor, they're actually very aware. But the reason that I went with Anchor, there are a few, but perhaps the number one reason is that really it's going to save me an ass ton of money. You can host on Anchor totally for free. You can start your own podcast, and it doesn't cost you a dime, and it's unlimited hosting. Is that going to change in the future? Yeah, it might. But I have to say, I went through their feature set. I went through everything that they put on offer, and I just think it's top notch. And it's also a company. Part of the reasons that I switched to Podbean. So I switched to Podbean back in, I guess this was beginning of 2019. Okay. So we've been on a journey for over a couple of years here. But in the beginning of 2019 was when I did the switch, and a big part of that came from SoundCloud. I didn't know if SoundCloud was going to be, around the following day, because SoundCloud, Sovryn Tech was hosted as a podcast on SoundCloud for most of its life. And that's still true to this day, for probably 7-8 years, I want to say, or 7 years or so, I was, that the show was hosted on SoundCloud. And SoundCloud, had a pretty nice feature set. especially at the time when Sovryn Tech started, almost a decade ago, it was a pretty advanced, it was really advanced at the time. And when I was getting away from SoundCloud, again, partly because I didn't know if it would still be here, I wanted to go with a company that had been around for a while and had proven itself. And Podbean was that company. And I don't really mean to insult Podbean, because I'm glad they're out there. And I know there are a lot of people and podcasts out there, big ones, that still use it. But another big part of going to Podbean was that they had built-in monetization. Okay. Monetization via, subscribers, kind of like Patreon. And I was also leaving Patreon at the time because Patreon was, making a lot of people sweat, a lot of people getting banned for varying reasons. So, it allowed for subscribers to come, to do like a monthly subscription. It also allowed for ads to, to be automatically fed, into, or, before or after or in the middle of episodes and everything. So, there's a lot of monetization options, which I really liked. Okay. It allowed for locked subscriber content, content behind a paywall. And, not long after I had switched to Podbean, and actually when I was looking into it, they were talking about, having live streaming features, all this great feature sets that I really, really loved. And, a lot of that was there, but right away when I switched in 2019, I had a lot of listeners complaining and having issues, and rightfully so complaining, because they were having issues with Podbean. And there have been other issues that I've had with Podbean over the past couple of years. Podbean also happened to be like, in their, the plan that they have a few different plans, but the plan that I was getting through them also would allow me to host my website via Podbean, which was certainly convenient, but then that also came with its own limitations and eventually came with errors. I actually did a major revamp of the website, of the Sovryn Tech website, and Podbean, you couldn't share episodes. It was a major clusterfuck. It was a really, really bad, it was a real issue. So, combined with these issues, as well as, being able to save a ton of money and also get extra exposure with Anchor.fm, I decided to do the switch. There was some talk of going to Acast. There were other companies, on the table. But Anchor ended up, edging things out. And I want to thank actually the Agora podcast. The guys over there, Sec and Penguin, they're the ones that really put Anchor on my radar. I didn't even know Anchor.fm was much of a thing. And then, I saw that they did, and it was like, oh, wow, phenomenal. I can say already, having used it, like the metrics that I get, just a lot of the data and everything. It's far and away better than what Podbean had out there. Now, that said, here's where you may need to take some action as a listener. And that is if you are somebody that donates to Sovryn Tech, and I'm honored by all the people that do. I know I still have quite a few people who donate via Podbean. Before the middle of the month of December 2021, you're going to want to switch that out. Now, you can go through Stripe, and it's very simple. It goes through Stripe on Anchor. You just type in sovryntech.com. It's going to take you right to the Anchor.fm website, okay, for the podcast for Sovryn Tech. And there's a subscribe button right there, and you could do it right through your credit card, or there's options to do it there. However, the other change that has happened is that I am reintegrating and refocusing on Patreon for Sovryn Tech. I never actually ended my Patreon account. And there were still, about 20 some odd people that continued to support the show via Patreon. And I'm so honored by that, over the past couple of years. And there was no impetus to leave. Like I said, I left it going. Some Telegram or, some users who knew about this, particularly, like in the Telegram group where I'd announced previously, they've already, re-signed up via Patreon. I'm honored by that. So if you still happen to have qualms about Patreon, you absolutely can set up a monthly subscription through Anchor.fm itself. And I went through the process. I mean, it's just dead simple. But if you do want to, sign up through Patreon, there are perks that only come through Patreon. And that includes a Discord channel. And I know, holy shit, I can just imagine some longtime Sovryn Tech listeners just reeling right now, saying, wait a minute, wait, a Spotify service, Patreon, now he's using Discord as well. What's next? Is he going on Meta? Is he going on Facebook? No, I can't handle that. I do have ethics, okay? Even though it seems like a lot of other podcasters don't, I do. But that kind of gets at it, okay? Anyway, I mean, let me finish what's on offer here, and then I want to talk about the why, because maybe some of you are wondering what the hell's going on. I'll get into more of the why on this. So with Patreon, yes, that will get you access to exclusive Patreon posts. It will get you access to some other things I'm going to list off, but the Discord channel is a big one. And I have been spending, already great conversations happening in the Discord channels. And I'm just going to say it. Discord is awesome. The way that you can organize things, like with Telegram, I would essentially have to make like 20 Telegram channels to cover all the different aspects, all the different facets that Sovryn Tech covers, for each of them to be able to be organized and all this other stuff. And, there's the issue that Telegram's threading capabilities are very limited. None of this is true with Discord. You get everything from, they have threading, of course they have reply like Telegram does, but they also have, emoji reacts, fucking great. That way you don't have to type something or whatever. That's dynamite. Having all of the different channels is really, really slick. Like, let me list off some of the channels we have here, and I'm open to adding more. Like there's one for health and fitness, news and politics, gaming. There's the TIE Fighter Renegades channel. There's a best memes channel, which hilarious shit in there. There's a science fiction channel, Sovryn at the Movies channel, a music channel where people are just sharing music. I love that. That's one of my favorite things. Books I'm listening to, podcast episodes I'm listening to, great YouTube videos. There's a user channel, tech news, apps, all that. There's tons of great channels here. To take advantage of. And this happens automatically when you sign up for any of the 3 tiers that are presently on Patreon, and there may be other ones in the future. Of course, you'll know about them. But any of the 3 tiers on Patreon, and they start from $1 to $5 to $100. Okay. And all the benefits are listed off on them. You just go to patreon.com/Sovryn Tech. I'll put a link in the show notes for it. Of course, they'll be in the show notes for every episode going forward. But that, any one of those will get you into the Discord channel, and none of the channels, on Discord are like blocked off, like only the $100, master of the triple black arts, gets to speak in this one. Like, I don't have that kind of setup, but the Discord channel is for patrons only. Okay. So this is behind a paywall. Now, that's not the only thing behind a paywall. We are going back to, and this starts as when this gets released, the episode I'm recording right now that you're listening to right now will be released on December 7th, 2021. Starting on December 8th, 2021, there will be weekly Q&A episodes again. And the plan is every Wednesday. So, you're definitely going to get them every week. There's times where maybe it would come out on a Tuesday or something, based on like my travel schedule or something like that. But you're going to get one every single week. And I'm really, really excited to pick this back up. It's admittedly something I've missed doing. My schedule hasn't really allowed for it, especially through 2020 and 2021. But now we're back at a stage where, okay, yeah, we can do this. And those weekly Q&A episodes, and for longtime listeners, you know how much you enjoyed them. I remember when I took them away, how sad people were. And I it had to be done. It was a matter of necessity. But since they're coming back, they will only be in the Patreon specific podcast feed that you get. Okay. When you become a patron. So, that, and again, that's with at any level, $1, $5, $100, doesn't matter. You're going to get, the weekly Q&As. Okay. And there's a weekly Q&A channel in the Discord, on the Sovryn Tech Discord server. And there's already people sending me questions to talk about, on Wednesday, and I can't wait to get into it. I love this. One of my favorite ways of interacting. Another one of my favorite ways of interacting, and this comes back this month, December 2021, will be live Q&As. There may not be video. We'll see what we're going to do about video, but there will definitely be audio, and this will all be done via Discord, and you can get on, speak, like, because there's voice channels in Discord. You're going to be able to come in. You can ask, questions via text, or you can ask them, you can get right on with me, and your voice can literally get heard, just like it was, in ancient times with Sovryn Tech. I know that was very popular. People loved it when we did the monthly live Q&As. So we're going to do those again, and again, you can come right on the show with the live Q&As. And when are those going to be? I will announce those via Patreon. So again, you're welcome to donate to the show via anchor.fm itself, but the best bang for your buck and to get the most out of supporting the show, you're going to want to do it via Patreon. And the Discord server is going to be a major hub of, a lot of Sovryn Tech activity. I've been sharing tons of news stories in there. Some that fucking blow my mind, like Chinese shipping vessels with hidden rocket launchers in them in shipping containers. I'm not kidding. Just crazy stuff. Structures on the moon. So, I mean, stuff like stuff you think was out of the movies, but fuck, it's happening. So the Discord server is really going to be where the action is. What that means for the Telegram channel going forward, still thinking about that. So, but the Discord channel, that's the hot and happening place. I will say, okay, so another thing, there's some details on this that I can share, and I'm probably not going to get into them right now, but let's just put it this way. So by the end of 2021, so the end of this month, December 2021, I am contractually obligated to have the numbered episodes of Sovryn Tech return. Like they have to pick back up. And I am, contractually obligated to do numbered episodes of Sovryn Tech at least once a week. I'm not going to, we can talk more. I'll talk more about that later, but that's the bottom line. So if there's something you've been waiting for, it's coming and it has to. So the other part that is going to be happening throughout December, and then I will talk about what was the purpose behind this big shift, or what was, like why I've decided that it's okay, to use some of these services. So something else that's going to be happening throughout December, you're going to be getting an episode, basically almost an episode a day throughout the entire month. Okay. And then, the end of the month should be something pretty special. And this is happening because, and this was an issue with Podbean. Podbean only allows 999 episodes to be forward facing. That is completely fucking unacceptable. Okay. Because I have thousands of, of episodes. Okay. There are episodes that, or I have over 1,000 anyway, I guess I should say. We can get into quibble details on that, but anyway, I have over 1,000 episodes. So there are episodes that when the transfer occurred via Anchor, which they did a great job, as much as was technically possible. So the transfer that happened, left out quite a few episodes in the first year of Sovryn Tech. Okay. And I mean, quite a few, well, it's like about 20 episodes that are not in the, Sovryn Tech feed proper as you have access to it now. And actually this would be true ever since it left SoundCloud. Okay. Or it would be true in the past year on Podbean, because that's when, we went over 1,000 episodes. So because of that, I want to make sure for posterity that these episodes exist and are in the Sovryn Tech feed. And I am going to do that by re-releasing like the first 20 episodes of Sovryn Tech under the title, which I've done this before, under the title of Sovryn Rewind. Okay, so they'll be very clearly labeled right at the front. It'll say Sovryn Rewind, and then it'll be Sovryn Tech Episode 1 and blah, blah, blah. Some of these, I may do an exclusive opening intro to them. Okay, so it's not just rehashing material. And I'm not doing this to rehash material. In fact, I mean, I would argue, like, I like to think I came out of the gate, 10 years ago pretty strong. But, I don't know that I would think of any of my first 20 episodes as like absolute classics. And, I've had some, mind shifts, shall we say, it's been 10 years. I've had some mind shifts in that time frame, like anybody should. And so I might say some very strange things in those episodes. And even I haven't listened to them in forever. But I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a nice little jaunt down memory lane. How about that? Down memory lane of Sovryn Tech. And so you don't have to listen to them, but they're going to be there. But that's why they're there. I'm not just doing filler. Okay. Again, if I wanted to do filler, there are tons of episodes that I would put way before these. But I just want to make sure that they're actually in the feed. And this is the best way to do it. And I think it's fun to revisit. And maybe it'll implore people to go through. I mean, look, I think every episode of Sovryn Tech is absolutely evergreen. Whether my mind changed on things or not, it's absolutely evergreen. And, going back through over 1,000 episodes, you got to, if you want to make sure you're getting more Sovryn Tech, you've got lots to listen to. And I know not everybody has been here the entire 10 years. And also, for the historical record, I am going to be re-releasing, and some of these will include custom intros by me, intros recorded in 2021, of podcast appearances that I made, on other podcasts, on other shows, that I never put into my feed. So those are going to happen as well, and they'll all be intermixed. And in between all of this, again, there's going to be the weekly Q&As. There's going to be, new public episodes coming out, whether it's a Sovryn Tech supplemental, a Sovryn at the Movies, or a Sovryn short like this, or, whatever shape it takes. I'm not going to, you're not going to just have a month where it's all older content. By no means. Absolutely fucking not. As a podcast professional, I would not allow for that. But those will be coming as well. Now, so that's a pretty good list of the changes. And again, the only thing you have to do is, if you want to be a supporter, you just have to switch up to how you want to support. Or if you want to become a supporter, again, I recommend going through Patreon. And you can get access to the Discord channel automatically, or the Discord server automatically. And you're going to get those weekly Q&As, and you're going to get, a fantastic, podcast feed. So that's what's happening now. What's behind a lot of this, and why did suddenly this become, why is it okay to suddenly use Discord? So about 3 years ago, in fact, really Discord and Patreon at about the same time. And of course, all of this was during the, orange ass hat, the Trump administration, both of them were really like banning people right and left. Like Discord was banning, channels that they said were Nazis and blah, blah, blah. Patreon was banning accounts. Some of them I clapped about, but because fuck those people. But I mean, I made my own complaints about Patreon, like the last straw for me at the time. And again, they've backpedaled a lot. A lot of this stuff has really been backpedaled on, and a lot of like the outrage around these companies has clearly been backpedaled on, which I'll talk about. But I mean, what drew the line for me with Patreon was, they were going to ban an account, by a cosplayer where the gal was like, she was wearing a Canadian bikini, fully clothed, I mean, everything's covered, right? And she was like pouring a bit of maple syrup on her to celebrate Canada Day. and Patreon flipped out. And I was like, oh, well, fuck you people. Like that's where you're just like, all right, now you're nuts, stop. So anyway, but Patreon's gotten a bit better, on these things and being a little more explicit in allowing for explicit content and in for, saying, okay, yeah, this is 18 years or older, blah, blah, blah. I did consider, believe it or not, going with OnlyFans, but OnlyFans it doesn't have the same creative, I would argue, possibilities. And, it doesn't lend itself to being a hub as well as Patreon does. And, for the past 2 years, I've heard from plenty of Sovryn Tech listeners that they miss the hub, of connection and the community sense that they got from Patreon, from Sovryn Tech's Patreon content and, just the page and everything. And so I hear that, this comes from feedback. But here's the thing, all of that aside, here's the deal. There are plenty of podcasts that still wave the libertarian banner far more than I do, who wave the, personal freedom banner far more. Well, I wave that all the time, so I shouldn't say that they wave it far more than I do, or at least as much as I do. How about that? Who, and who have listeners and fans and whatever else that are people that are shared, listeners and fans, and people who I have the utmost respect for are, incredibly ethical and brilliant human beings, walking around the planet. And I'm so glad that they're out there. So I hope you're hearing me, that I'm being incredibly, that I love you people and I'm being incredibly respectful to you, and giving you the highest honors that I possibly can. But here's the deal. They all use Discord, Patreon, and Spotify. They don't care. For the past 2 years, I'm just like, I've been putting myself in a corner, like pushing myself into a corner, is that what they say? Painting myself into a corner. I've been painting myself into a corner saying, okay, no, I'm going to be the fucking, I'm going to have the ethical high ground here. I am not going to use services that regularly ban people for willy-nilly. I am not going to, use something that's going towards centralization instead of decentralization. But I can do that. But, all it does is it just buries the message. Me doing that. Again, nobody cares. There are podcasts appreciating such high levels of success in a somewhat similar space to mine, and I don't mean tech. And I think part of the reason they're appreciating that success comes from that, again, they're where the people are, right? They're using Discord. They're using Patreon. They're using, they're hosting wherever. And nobody cares. Okay. And they don't make a big stink out of it. They don't see the ethical issue with it or whatever. So again, I'm just being frank with you. I'm not trying to sound petty or anything like that. I'm just saying, why hurt the message when it doesn't seem to be hurting anybody else, using these services? So, I'm going to meet the people where they are. And, by all means, I'm going to have all the decentralized, backups already in place. Don't confuse me. Like, no one's giving up on, like the peer-to-peer future here. But it's really, again, it's just burying the message. And I don't think that's doing anyone any good. And Anchor.fm is being far more supportive of the show than Podbean ever was. In fact, it was Podbean, like there were conflicts happening there. Okay. So I'm just going to put it that way. That not an issue at all, with Anchor.fm. Now, I've been banned from Twitter, for pretty much a year now. That's, I can't really do anything about that. So I'm not getting back on Twitter. There's no fucking way in hell I'm going to be on Facebook. So don't think that somehow, what I'm saying here means, oh, he's going to end up on social media. No. Social media isn't even a matter of ethics. Social media is a matter of fucking sanity. It is a matter of health. I 1000% continue to stand by what I have said for years, that social media is destroying our brains. No, I'm not going to be there. Okay. There's no return. That's like, I couldn't even handle that. But the fact is, and this isn't my words, this is other people's words. Sovryn Tech is needed now more than ever. 2022 needs Sovryn Tech at its best. And there are people, gracious people out there who believe in it and recognize that. And I'll deliver in the way that only I can. And I won't, paint myself into any corner to where it can't be heard. This is not a time. We do not live in a time for half measures and nice guys. I am a mean motherfucker that calls it like he sees it every single time and says it without fear. Remember the longest running theme song for Sovryn Tech? You want to live like a supervillain? Let me tell you, the world doesn't need a hero right now. The world needs a villain. And I'm ready to do it. Just as I always really have been for the past 10 years. I'll be the villain that the world needs. Because to champion, to be the hero for the world as it is right now, you're not a mean fucker. You're a sick fucker. There's nothing to champion here in how things are going. So I'm not going to be the hero. I'm going to be the fucking villain. If you want to join me, and if you want to support what Sovryn Tech is doing, come along for the ride. Again, I'd love to have you on the Discord server. Go ahead and, sign up on Patreon, patreon.com/SovrynTech. That's the way to get in on the Discord server. You don't have to change anything on your podcast app. Unless you become a patron, then you get the exclusive Patreon feed that gets the weekly Q&As, live Q&As. It gets everything. Okay. But if you just want the, public episodes, the main episodes, don't worry. You're still going to get specials. You're still going to get a lot of that stuff. You can get that, on the public feed. You don't have to change anything there though. Anchor took care of all of that. And you've got a lot of content, a lot of episodes, some of it classic episodes, some of it new stuff coming out throughout December 2021. And then when the end of the year hits and we go into 2022, we're going to ride into 2022 and hell's going to be riding right with me, baby. And I can't wait to share it with you. So there's our update for what's going on. I hope you're as excited as I am. I can't wait to share it all with you. I can't wait to join some of you, or join with some of you, connect with some of you again on the Discord server. Great stuff happening there and sharing lots of things with you on Patreon. Also a new website coming soon. I'll leave it at that. Thank you to everybody that has been on this ride already. No matter what point you came on, but over the past 10 years. And it's just, like I said earlier, it's just going to get hotter. With that, I'll see all of you, on the other side.